Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie strides onto the stage of feminist discourse with the confidence of someone who's unearthed a secret map to human equality. From the first sentences, she makes it clear that feminism isn't a dirty word but rather a lifeline for anyone chafing against the tight collar of gendered expectations. It's as if she's gently shaking the reader, saying, "Wake up, this is about more than gender, this is about humanity." She recounts childhood moments in Nigeria where she first noticed the strange choreography prescribed for boys and girls. While boys scrambled for footballs and daring exploits, girls were herded toward quiet corners and domestic playsets. Adichie's narrative voice is warm yet sharp, revealing how these early lessons planted the seeds of inequality in the most innocuous playground interactions. Adichie then turns her gaze to language itself, excavating the ways words carry hidden biases. She points out that when boys are called brave, girls performing the same feats are often labeled bossy or annoying. Her prose crackles with irony as she dismantles these verbal traps, challenging readers to consider how a simple epithet can shackle potential. Drawing on cross-continental observations, Adichie transports us from her Nigerian upbringing to the glittering yet still imperfect arenas of Western feminism. She highlights how, even in ostensibly progressive spaces, women can find themselves hemmed in by glass ceilings and cocktail party expectations. Her tone is neither accusatory nor despairing but rather inquisitive. She's diagnosing a problem, not casting blame. Personal anecdotes surface again as she describes the casual misogyny that punctuated her university years in the United States. From classroom microaggressions to late-night conversations where male peers dismissed women's aspirations, Adichie illustrates that prejudice often plays out in whispers and sly smiles rather than overt declarations. It's a masterclass in revealing how insidious exclusion can be. Adichie doesn't shy away from the economic dimensions of gender inequality. She sketches a world where women's labor, paid or unpaid, is undervalued, while male ambition is celebrated as a driver of progress. With wry humor, she points out the absurdity of equating masculinity with leadership and femininity with subservience, as though these were immutable laws rather than social inventions. Perhaps most compelling is Adichie's exploration of the concept of gender roles as prison cells disguised as wardrobes. She describes how these roles limit not only women's ambitions but also men's capacities for vulnerability and care. In her deft analysis, she refuses to see feminism as zero-sum. She invites men to don the liberating attire of equality alongside women. Interweaving the political with the personal, Adichie examines how marriage and motherhood, while celebrated, can become societal cages if treated as women's sole pathways to fulfillment. She urges a re-evaluation of these institutions, calling for a world where nurturing and partnership are shared responsibilities rather than gendered burdens. At the heart of her argument beats a call for inclusive education, an invitation to teach boys and girls from the earliest ages that strength and empathy are not gendered commodities. Adichie's vision of schooling is one where leadership, curiosity, and kindness are cultivated in every child, regardless of the pronouns they wear. She also delves into the media's role in perpetuating damaging stereotypes, from glossy magazine spreads to blockbuster films. Adichie lampoons the repetitive tropes that position women as decorative sidekicks, arguing that real progress depends on rewriting these narratives so that every role, on screen or off, celebrates genuine complexity. Throughout the essay, Adichie's tone remains conversational, as if she's sitting across from you at a coffee shop, balancing her critiques with laughter and shared astonishment. She never condescends, rather, she extends an encouraging hand, inviting readers into the feminist project with the promise that it's more fun, and more just, than they might imagine. Her most electric moments arrive when she talks about power not as domination but as the capacity to shape one's own life and to influence communities for the better. She insists that feminism is ultimately about expanding that capacity for everyone, dismantling the myth that power must be wielded like a club rather than shared like a lantern. In her closing reflections, Adichie warns against complacency, reminding us that the fight for gender equality is ongoing and must be nurtured in every conversation, every policy, every family dinner. Her words resonate with the urgency of a summons, yet they carry the warmth of solidarity, as though rallying a crowd of friends rather than issuing a stern decree. By the final lines, the essay feels less like a lecture and more like the beginning of a lifelong dialogue, one in which each of us must choose daily to reject narrow scripts and to champion the freedom of others. Adichie's feminism is neither a fancy gown nor an exclusive club, it's a well-worn pair of boots built for walking side by side toward a truer equality. Reading her essay, you come away with the invigorating realization that feminism isn't about hating men or upending society overnight. It's about cultivating respect, empathy, and equity in the small moments that accumulate into transformative change. And if that isn't a movement worth cheering for, then perhaps the only thing left to give a frown about is missing out on the revolution she so eloquently invites us to join.